talking about the blood supply to the liver and the gallbladder and all of that, right? So then, we talked about this, right? Okay. And then, yes. Okay, good. So we're doing pancreas. Okay. All right. Now that I've got technology and property, this is software. Okay. So first of all, just overall morphology. Okay. Of the pancreas. So it's settled. It's nestled in here behind the stomach, and in the curve of the duodenum. So we've got the tail kind of sticking out here. It can reach as far as the spleen. The body is the major portion of it. The neck is the portion that is under, that corresponds with the location of the superior mesenteric veins and arteries. Then we have the head that curves around here, and then finally the uncinate process here at the end. You're supposed to be familiar with excuse me, all of the regions and just some placement. So the head and uncinate process are tucked right here within the C of the duodenum.
The neck we're not identifying on the body, so correct? Because we just have the body, head, and tail.
Right. You don't have to differentiate between the neck and the other ordinary structures. Okay. Internally, we've got, it's obviously lots of glandular tissue, and then we have the main pancreatic duct running the length of it. And that empties into a couple of different structures. So the main pancreatic duct empties directly into the bile duct here. So digestive enzymes are mixed together with bile, released through the major duodenal papilla. And we also have a branch here, the accessory pancreatic duct that empties through the minor duodenal papilla. Excuse me, goodness gracious. Okay, each of these papilla have sphincters, as we've talked about. So major duodenal papilla here are sphincters that helps prevent the bile being released, as well as the digestive enzymes. The same with the minor duodenal papilla. Okay. So this just takes and puts all of these images together. So the whole pathway for the bile ducts, and showing the main pancreatic duct coming in and connecting to the common bile duct. So we've gone over all of these structures before, but I thought this was a nice image to kind of help connect the pieces, because they keep chopping parts off of our diagrams. So like they just don't have the gallbladder or something like that. So this just kind of helps put it together in one picture for anybody who's struggling with the spatial orientation. Yeah.
Should we call it the bile duct or the common bile duct?
Bile duct is okay. I would accept either one though, because either is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Why do I have this here? Oh, right. So here is an ultrasound of the gallbladder, the inferior part of the liver, and these little round blobs here are gallstones. And gallstones are just crystallized pigments and cholesterol that are components of bile. And so they form in the gallbladder, because that's where we've got stationary word I'm looking for, storage of bile, so it has time to precipitate. And then as the bile is then excreted, these stones can also be pushed out of the gallbladder and get lodged in several different locations. So obviously they can get lodged in the cystic duct here. Which would cause inflammation of the gallbladder, in the same manner as like getting the appendix blocked off, just kind of cause inflammation there. So that would be treatment would not often be removal of the gallbladder. If it gets blocked here in the at the border here of the, wow, my words today, bile duct, wow, here, then you also have, not only backing up of the bile in the gallbladder and inflammation of the gallbladder, you also have it backing up into the liver here, and that can eventually allow the bile pigments to build up in the liver tissue, and also it can build up in other tissues in the body and end up causing jaundice. And symptoms of jaundice are then just like yellowing of the sclera of the eyes, so seeing those bile pigments building up in the tissues. So that would be when we block the common bile duct. Now, if we, let's see, go back to here. If we have a gallstone that gets all the way down here, down to where the major papilla is, then we can have blockage not only of the bile duct, but also of the main pancreatic duct. And that can allow for buildup of the pancreatic enzymes in the main pancreatic duct back into the pancreas itself. And these can start destroying the pancreas and cause inflammation of the pancreas, pancreatitis. So, different regions of gallstones, what they can cause depending on where they get lodged in the duct system. Okay? So then, arterial supply to the pancreas. So we have branches of the splenic artery coming down, dorsal pancreatic artery there. We also have our favorite arteries, the superior and inferior pancreatico-duodenal arteries. So we have in the superior pancreatico-duodenal artery, two branches to the, I'll catch in a second, anterior posterior branches, and there's also the inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery coming up and anastomosing with the superiors. Yes?
Why is the one the inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery and the other ones are the anterior, posterior, superior aspect of the inferior?
Okay, run that by me one more time, it's Monday.
Okay, so right under dorsal, why is that one just inferior pancreatic and all the other ones have an anterior, posterior aspect to them?
Yeah, because these actually start off as a single inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery and then split into the anterior and posterior branches.
And so then, okay, once it starts splitting, then that's when
Yeah, then we call it
given us the
anterior and
names.
posterior, yes.
Do you want us to be able to know the difference between all of those, the anterior, the posterior, the superior? Those four?
Yeah, so I would say like if it's down here, this would be the inferior, and up here. So I wouldn't ask you like something right here in the middle, because I'd be like, that's the anastomos between those two, so it would be very vague. But yeah, you should know the inferior comes off of the what the heck is this vessel is called? Thank you. Superior mesenteric artery, and the superior comes off the gastroduodenal artery. Okay. I'm not going to be too picky about anterior, posterior, superior, or for the pancreatico-duodenal arteries in lecture, but in the lab, if we're pointing out structure on a model, then you need to identify whether it's anterior or posterior. Okay. So that's the pancreas. We'll talk about it a lot next semester in pathophys, because we can have all kinds of bad things happening there. But let's move on to the spleen now. So then this location of the spleen, it's tucked in posterior to the stomach, kind of along the lateral aspect of the stomach there, right against the excuse me, posterior abdominal wall. It's just kind of a funny little oblong blob of tissue. indentations where, it's grown around other structures. And then here we have the entrance of vessels into the spleen, via the hilum. So again, hilum is just an area where large structures enter, or vessels enter a structure. And does anybody know what's the whole point of the spleen? What's it do? Yeah, you can call it a gigantic lymph node. So it's packed with lymphatic tissue, so lots of lymphocytes and other types of immune cells, and it helps filter the blood. Also, has really tiny capillaries, super small, so that a single red blood cell has to squeeze through it and actually gets partially deformed as it's going through. And so as the blood cell ages, the membrane becomes less resilient to this. And so as they squeeze through those arteries, the old red blood cells actually start breaking apart. They start rupturing. And right on the other side of those capillaries are a bunch of macrophages and other immune cells that take care of all of the ruptured parts of those red blood cells. So one of the things it does is help recycle with the red blood cells as they age. Oh gosh. Someday I'll pretend coffee and really that. Okay. And then obviously blood supply to the spleen is supplied by the splenic artery. And just remember that we have branches off the splenic artery to form the left gastromental artery and also the short gastric artery supplying the fundus in the stomach. Okay. Any questions about the spleen? Nope. Okay. So that's the end of that one. Let's cruise through this. Okay, so in this section, what I want to do is help put together all of these arteries that we've been talking about into a big picture. Okay, so we've gone over all of the arteries that we're going to talk about in this few slides, but we really want to make it into a big picture story, not just these bits and pieces. Because as you understand the arterial supply of the abdomen, you're going to also understand where a lot of other structures are, because they're associated very closely with particular portions of the excuse me, the what's the word I'm looking for? Arterial tree. Okay, so we start off with our major branches off of the abdominal aorta. So it's a little old school here. Okay, here's aorta. Okay, what are our major branches off of that?
Celiac trunk.
Yep.
Superior mesenteric.
SMA and IMA, right? Okay, good. So then let's take the celiac trunk, and we have several branches off of that. What are those?
Left gastric.
We have left gastric, yeah. Splenic. And common hepatic. Good. Coming off of excuse me. Oh, okay. The splenic, we have a couple of important branches. What are those?
Short gastric.
Yep. And the
Gastromental.
which one?
Left.
Okay, good. Then we have the common hepatic, little arrow down here, and what do those come off? What comes off the common hepatic? What's the first branch?
Right gastric.
Sorry?
Right gastric.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but after that, it splits into what? Yep. And one other. Hmm?
Gastroduodenal.
Yep. Okay. Then we have several branches off the gastroduodenal, including, let's forward. I'll bounce forward to that one here. Gastroduodenal, and we have been, coming off of that, which branches here? So we have the superior pancreaticoduodenal, right? So the posterior comes off of it first, yep, and then the anterior comes off second here. So we have and abbreviated them A and P, pancreaticoduodenal artery. I don't want to write the whole thing out. Okay. Alright, so that's the celiac trunk. Is that helpful or a waste of time or helpful? Is it? Is it a good thing? Okay. So shall we continue on with the branches of the SMA? Okay. We'll switch colors. Huh?
What is the AMP?
The anterior posterior pancreaticoduodenal artery. I'm gonna totally slaughter that so many times, oh my gosh. Okay, now, question. Where are the anastomoses in this, what we've done so far? Is there any anastomoses?
The left and right gastric.
Mm-hmm, left and right gastric. Anastomose. Good. The rest of them, we have to talk about some of the others first. Okay. Another color. Off the SMA, what do we have? Let's see, I think I've got, let's see this one. What do we have off the SMA?
The middle colic.
Mm-hmm, so we have the colic. There's a couple of them coming off the SMA. It's the middle and then another one. What's the other one?
The right.
The right, yep. Good. I should have spread things out a little bit more. Let's do that so it doesn't get quite so crazy in here. SMA, right, middle. Okay, what others come off of the SMA? There's a whole group of them we call the,
Is that better?
can you guys see better? Okay. Jejunal, right, iliojejunal arteries, yep. Jejunals first. That's not spelled right. Oh. How do you spell ileal? I'll just say, can't spell it this morning. Is it I-A-L or E-A-L?
E.
Okay, I was right the first time. Why doesn't it look right today? I have things like that. Whatever. Okay, good. Ouch. And then, let's see, what else do we got going on there? So, okay, so then we have the, one more major one that we need to talk about. Mm-hmm. So inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery, and this is superior over here. Okay, so any anastomoses here that we've added on?
Inferior, pancreaticoduodenal, and the superior.
Mm-hmm, yep. So these guys here, and these guys here. So the anterior pair and the posterior pair of the inferior and superior pancreaticoduodenal arteries duodenal artery anastomosis with the anterior inferior pancreas.
It's the same with the back too.
Yeah, and the same thing with the back too. Okay, is this really blue? I think so. Okay, so then, let's go over this side more. It'll make it more interesting. Okay, so for the IMA, we have several branches off. What are some of the major branches of the IMA? Yep, left colic, yep. Good. What else? There's one more that's important here. Yeah, superior. We haven't really looked at those yet, so I think we've got a slide in here somewhere that talks about it. What number is that? Okay, here, so I'll point out here for the superior, we've got the superior mesenteric artery coming down here. And it's shaky today. Huh. We've got the middle colic artery coming up this way, and the right colic artery this way. And then we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on here with the jejunal arteries and the ileal arteries down here. Okay? And here's our inferior mesenteric artery. We have the left colic artery coming off here, and the superior rectal artery coming down here. Okay? The artery is not very good. Are there any anastomoses that we can add here then? So we actually can't see it very well, but if we kind of flip between here, we see that there's kind of a end there of one of the branches of the middle colic artery, and then we've got end here of some of the branches of the left colic artery. So we get anastomosis between those two. So, right colic artery and left colic artery. Okay? Does that kind of help when we get into a big picture, kind of where things are going?
Can you go over the colic arteries? Are they different? Is the left and the right, they branch from the inferior mesenteric or the superior?
Yeah, so the right colic artery and the middle colic artery branch from the superior mesenteric artery. Okay? The left colic artery branches from the inferior mesenteric artery.
Right? Is it the middle and the left that are anastomosis?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not the right and the left, it's the middle and the left.
Okay.
Did I, oh, I circled the wrong thing. Silly me. That's not even what I said, so wow. Obviously it's Monday. There we go. That's better. Thank you for catching that.
So do the right and middle anastomosis?
Left and middle.
The left and middle, right?
Yeah, but then do also the right and middle?
Do they?
Yeah, the book said they do.
Oh, right, it's right there. Duh.
Right.
Wow, yes, you're correct.
To each other, yeah.
Yes, so then there's the anastomos there too. I'll draw some more arrows. Okay, good. Any other anastomoses I missed?
You said.
Technically, all.
Yeah, so the left anastomosis with the middle, the right anastomosis with the middle. This thing in the middle is coming in from both sides, getting branches in from both sides.
So then that is like left and right, I guess, would you say the left and right view since they're all interconnected?
I think not technically because they're separated by the branches of the middle. Yeah, good question. Okay, so that's the arterial supply. Any questions, more questions? It's kind of it together? Okay, did everybody get it all written down, everything, or forge ahead? Okay, so most of the figures are just, you know, help you refer to them and kind of just put them all in one place so that you can kind of start getting a total picture of what's going on. Okay, so that's that. So then we have the major veins of the portal system. So again, remember, our portal system is everything that empties into the portal vein, which then goes through the liver, that second capillary bed in the liver, before it empties into the inferior vena cava.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, not punctuated with talking. So, remember the portal venous system is everything that empties into the portal vein, which then goes through and branches out in the liver to go through the capillary beds of the liver, and then they come together, kind of on the other side of the capillary bed into the hepatic veins, which then empty into the inferior vena cava. I'll just point out a few veins that I want you to know. So the splenic vein is obviously one of the major inputs into the portal system. The inferior mesenteric vein comes into the splenic vein here. And then the superior mesenteric vein also major input into the portal system. Those are the only three that I'm going to have you be able to identify. The rest of them just say they're tributaries of those. The rest. So, superior mesenteric, inferior mesenteric, and splenic veins in the portal system. Okay. So then, here's just a more expanded, what's it called, picture, wow, showing here the superior mesenteric vein draining the same area as the superior mesenteric artery supplies, so the small intestine and the ascending and transverse colon. The inferior mesenteric vein draining the same area the inferior mesenteric artery supplies, so the descending colon and rectum and anal canal and sigmoid colon. And then the splenic vein draining large degree of some of the other areas here, including the spleen. And then we have several other like gastromental veins, stuff like that, but again, I won't have you memorize those ones. But this is just nicely illustrating how the venous system very closely parallels the arterial system. Okay, so then major points of anastomosis between the portal and cavovenous systems. I mentioned them briefly when we started the abdomen, so tell me where they were again. Yeah, the rectum here. So the inferior rectal veins go straight into the internal iliac vein, whereas the superior rectal veins actually dump into the portal system through the inferior mesenteric vein. So that's one of them. Okay, where's the other ones? Yeah, so here is esophageal hiatus. We have some of the excuse me, the veins from that system emptying into the portal system. Others are emptying into tributaries of the azygos vein, so we get splitting of those tributaries as well. And then finally, we have the ones around the umbilicus, so they anastomose with some of the abdominal wall vasculature, some of the veins that are emptying the abdominal wall, as well as the paraumbilical veins that come into the portal system. And so then, remember when we were talking about it before, that if we have damage to the liver and reduced flow of blood through the liver, we can have backup in the portal system that causes what condition? Portal hypertension. And then we can get bleeding in several areas. problems here in the esophagus, what were the problems that we could get there? Varices, which could cause bleeding. We also can get problems here. Hemorrhoids, yep, okay. And then also, with backup of this area here, we can get those enlarged veins on the surface of the abdomen around the umbilicus, called caput medusa. Just remember those from our last discussion of the portal venous system. Okay, so we've been harping on the arterial supply, and for good reason, because, you know, obviously it's important to know where things are going, but because in reference to other systems, we can use the structure of the arterial supply to help us remember where things are at. So the lymph nodes, major lymphatic nodes of the abdomen are nestled at the bases of our three major arteries, our three major branches off of the abdominal aorta. So you see them kind of clustered here on the celiac trunk, and the superior mesenteric and the inferior mesenteric. And each of these nodes, these clusters of nodes, are draining the same area as that major aortic branch is supplying. So again, like the venous system, it's very closely mirroring excuse me, the structure of the arterial supply. The same is true for the innervation. So again, very tight clustering of ganglia here at the what's it called, bases of these major vessels. So you can see the ganglia tucked in here, right here. Remember, they're receiving input from the splanchnic nerves, those preganglionic fibers that are synapsing here in those ganglia. Okay. Now we've been calling this whole mess here, this whole mess of meshwork of nerves, the prevertebral plexus. Well, it's actually a network of plexuses, so now we can separate them out. And based on their position, they have different names. So the celiac plexus is those that are clustered around the celiac trunk here. The aortic plexus is kind of everything along the rest of the abdominal aorta here, around the inferior mesenteric artery base and in between the superior and the inferior mesenteric artery base, so just all along this area. And finally, we have the superior hypogastric plexus, which is down below the bifurcation of the aorta into the common iliac arteries. And then we'll talk about the inferior hypogastric plexus when we get to the pelvic region, because it's actually in the pelvic region as opposed to the abdominal region. Okay. So we get information from the splanchnic nerves, and those are sympathetic division of the autonomic nervous system, remember? And then we also, or at least most of them are, we also have some parasympathetic innervation, and those are in terms of the vagal trunks coming down from the thoracic cavity. And what's the major vein that, or not the major vein, wow, major nerve that composes the vagal trunks? Vagus. Great, when the names coincide. Okay, so that's the major parasympathetic coming down from the top, and it innervates the celiac plexus in the upper part of the abdominal, the aortic plexus. So that's coming from the vagal trunks. Now, the superior hypogastric plexus, as well as the inferior hypogastric plexus and the bottom part of the aortic plexus, all receive their parasympathetic innervation from the pelvic splanchnic nerves. Remember, those are our lowest pelvic innervate the, superior hypogastric plexus and the bottom part of the aortic plexus, as well as the inferior hypogastric